I never imagined that the happiest day of my life would lead to the most difficult decision I ever had to make. After 5 years of trying to have a baby, my wife Amanda and I finally received the news we had been waiting for. She was pregnant through IVF. Our dream was coming true until I accidentally discovered a strange email from the fertility clinic. What I found next shattered my entire world. Before I tell you about the biggest shock of my life, let me know where you are watching from, and do not forget to hit like and subscribe so you do not miss out on real stories about love and betrayal like this one. I first met Amanda at a tech conference in Seattle about 8 years ago. I was 35 working as a software engineer for a growing tech company, and she was 30, a marketing executive with a creative agency. We connected instantly over our shared love for innovation and outdoorsy Pacific Northwest lifestyle. Her bright smile and quick wit captivated me from our first conversation. We dated for 3 years before getting married in a beautiful ceremony on the coast. During our engagement, we talked extensively about our dreams for the future. We both wanted a family, 2 or 3 kids running around our home, filling it with laughter and chaos. Amanda would light up when talking about becoming a mother someday. The first 2 years of our marriage were blissful. We traveled, advanced in our careers, bought our dream house, and enjoyed our time together. When we decided it was time to start trying for a baby, we approached it with excitement and optimism. We figured it would happen naturally within a few months. 6 months passed without success. Then a year. Then another. The monthly disappointment began wearing on us both. What started as a joyful process turned into a scheduled obligation. Our family's well-meaning but invasive constantly asked about grandchildren. Each holiday gathering became an exercise in deflecting questions about our reproductive plans. After 2 years of trying, we sought medical help. The initial tests revealed that I had a low sperm count, which significantly reduced our chances of natural conception. The diagnosis hit me hard. I felt like less of a man, somehow deficient, though Amanda assured me it changed nothing about how she saw me. We researched our options extensively and ultimately decided to try in vitro fertilization. It was expensive, invasive, and emotionally taxing, but the success rates gave us hope. We chose a high-end fertility clinic with excellent reviews and cutting-edge technology. The financial commitment was substantial, $50,000 from our savings, but we agreed that having a child was worth every penny. The IVF process was more complex than we anticipated. Amanda had to undergo hormone treatments to stimulate egg production, followed by a surgical procedure to retrieve the eggs. I provided multiple sperm samples which were processed to select the healthiest specimens. The clinic then combined our genetic materials in their laboratory to create embryos. 2 weeks later, we received the call that changed everything. 5 healthy embryos had been created, 5 potential children with our combined DNA. I remember Amanda crying tears of joy when we got the news. We scheduled the embryo transfer for the following month, giving Amanda time to prepare her body for pregnancy. In the days leading up to the transfer, we talked endlessly about our future child. We discussed names, nursery colors, and parenting philosophies. I had never seen Amanda so happy, so full of purpose. I felt the same way, excited to finally become a father after years of disappointment. The night before, we were scheduled to select which embryo to transfer Amanda, and I stayed up late talking about our hopes and dreams for our child. We held hands on our back porch, staring at the stars, feeling closer than we had in years. The struggle to conceive had strained our relationship at times, but in that moment everything felt perfect again. We were on the verge of achieving our greatest dream together. A week before the scheduled embryo transfer, I noticed subtle changes in Amanda. She seemed more distant, checked her phone constantly, and spent hours in our home office with the door closed. When I asked if everything was okay, she blamed it on nerves and hormones from the IVF medications. The day before our appointment to select the embryo, Amanda suddenly suggested she go alone to the clinic. She claimed she wanted to spare me from taking another day off work, saying the selection process was simple and routine. Something about her insistence felt off, but I agreed, not wanting to add any stress to an already emotional situation. That afternoon, while working from home, I received a call from my coworker mentioning he had just seen Amanda at a coffee shop downtown, deep in conversation with someone. This seemed strange since she had told me she would be at the fertility clinic all day. When she returned home that evening, I casually asked about her appointment. She gave vague answers and quickly changed the subject. Despite my growing unease, I pushed my concerns aside when Amanda announced 2 weeks later that the embryo transfer had been successful. She was pregnant. After years of trying, we were finally going to have a baby. My joy temporarily overshadowed any lingering doubts. I threw myself into preparations, converting our guest room into a nursery and downloading dozens of parenting books. 3 months into the pregnancy, my laptop crashed while I was working on an important presentation. With a looming deadline, I asked Amanda if I could use her computer. She hesitated briefly before agreeing, saying she needed to run errands anyway. While searching for the presentation software on her laptop, I accidentally clicked on her email. I was about to close it when a message from the fertility clinic caught my eye. The subject line referenced a second embryo and external sample terms I had never heard mentioned during our appointments. My heart racing, I opened the email. It referred to a Jason Warren and included details about a special procedure Amanda had requested without my knowledge. I had never heard this name before. Who was Jason Warren? Why was he mentioned in emails about our IVF process? Against my better judgment, I searched through more emails, finding a string of correspondence between Amanda and the clinic dating back months. The messages discussed a last-minute change to our procedure, substituting a different sperm donor, without my consent or knowledge. One email explicitly stated the change should not be mentioned during my visits to the clinic. I felt sick to my stomach. Shaking, I searched online for Jason Warren and found his professional profile. He was a successful entrepreneur who had been featured in Forbes 30 Under 30 a few years ago. His company specialized in biotech innovations. Nothing in his profile indicated any connection to Amanda or me. Then I found his social media accounts and scrolled back through his photos. My blood ran cold when I found pictures from 7 years ago showing Jason and Amanda together at various events, arms wrapped around each other, clearly a couple. This was her ex-boyfriend, someone she had never even mentioned to me in all our years together. I sat there stunned, unable to process what I was discovering. Questions swirled in my mind, each more painful than the last. Was the baby I thought was mine actually biologically related to this stranger? Had Amanda deliberately deceived me? How long had this been planned? I closed the laptop, unable to continue. I needed time to think, to figure out how to approach Amanda with what I had found. That night I pretended everything was normal, though I barely slept, tossing and turning beside the woman who suddenly felt like a stranger. The following day, I called the fertility clinic, pretending to need clarification on some medical information for insurance purposes. The receptionist, assuming I knew about all aspects of our treatment, casually mentioned the special modification procedure that Amanda had requested. When I pressed for details, she realized her mistake and backtracked, saying I should discuss it with my wife. My stomach knotted as more pieces of the puzzle fell into place. That evening I went through Amanda's laptop again while she napped. This time I found text messages between her and Jason discussing the baby. Their conversations revealed they had reconnected months before we started IVF, initially just as friends catching up. The messages turned my world upside down. In one exchange, Amanda told Jason that she wanted their baby to have the best possible genetics. She wrote, "The baby needs to have the best genes, and Ambrose has fertility issues that could be hereditary. Your genes are simply better." Another message revealed their planning. Ambrose does not need to know. He will love this baby unconditionally, regardless of biology. The betrayal cut deeper than anything I had ever experienced. The woman I loved, who had shared my bed and my life for years, had deliberately deceived me in the most intimate way possible. She had decided that I was genetically inferior, not worthy of fathering my own child. And worse, she had conspired with her ex to create a baby without my knowledge. For a week I lived in a state of shock and devastation. I went through the motions of daily life, smiling, when appropriate, touching Amanda's pregnancy bump when expected, but inside I was hollow. Every night I lay awake, wondering how I could have been so blind, so trusting. I questioned every moment of our relationship, every word she had ever spoken to me. The thought that haunted me most was about the baby. Biologically not mine, but conceived under the pretense that it would be. A child I had already started to love, imagining teaching them to ride a bike or reading them bedtime stories. Would I resent this innocent child for its origins? Could I raise another man's genes as my own, knowing the deception that brought them into my life? I became obsessed with finding every detail about Jason Warren. I learned he had an advanced degree from Stanford, had founded 2 successful companies, and came from a family of accomplished academics. In contrast, I was the first in my family to graduate college, had worked my way up in the tech industry, and came from humble beginnings. Was this why Amanda thought his genes were superior? The more I discovered, the more my pain transformed into anger. Not just at Amanda and Jason, but at myself for not seeing the signs. The secretive phone calls, the unexplained absences, the sudden insistence on handling the IVF process alone, all made sense now in the most painful way. I began to notice how Amanda talked about the baby, always saying my baby rather than our baby. She made comments about hoping the child would have certain traits, genetic intelligence, athletic ability, that neither of us possessed strongly. Each remark now felt like a knife twist, knowing she was hoping for traits from Jason's genetic makeup. My concentration at work suffered. Friends noticed my withdrawal and asked if everything was okay. I made excuses about pregnancy stress and work pressure, unable to voice the truth that was destroying me from inside. How do you tell someone that your wife decided you were not good enough to father your own child? After 2 weeks of carrying this burden alone, I finally reached my breaking point. I needed answers directly from Amanda. I waited until we had finished dinner one evening, then placed her laptop on the table between us, open to the emails with the fertility clinic. "Is there something you want to tell me about our baby?" I asked, my voice surprisingly steady despite the storm inside me. Amanda looked confused at first. Then her eyes widened as she saw the screen. She closed the laptop quickly and attempted to laugh it off, claiming I was misinterpreting medical jargon. But the tremor in her voice betrayed her. "I want the truth, Amanda. All of it." "Now," I said, placing the printed text messages between her and Jason on the table. Her face crumbled as she realized the extent of what I had discovered. After a long silence, tears streaming down her face, she admitted everything. Yes, the baby she was carrying had been conceived using Jason's sperm, not mine. Her justification cut deeper than the deception itself. "I just wanted our child to have the best possible chance in life," she explained through tears. "Jason has superior genetics, better intelligence, no history of health problems in his family, and obviously no fertility issues." I asked her how long she had been in contact with Jason, and she admitted they had reconnected just before we decided to try IVF. What started as innocent catching up quickly evolved into discussions about our fertility struggles. Jason, she said, had offered his help when he learned about my low sperm count. "Do you understand what you have done?" I asked, my voice breaking. "You made a decision about our child, our family, without me. You decided I was not good enough to be the biological father of our baby." "It is still my egg," she countered defensively. "It is still half me. I just wanted better genes than what you could provide." Her words struck like physical blows. In that moment I saw clearly how little she respected me, how conditional her love had always been. The final revelation came when she admitted that Jason knew about the pregnancy and that she had promised to let him be part of the child life. They had been meeting secretly to discuss how they would handle co-parenting once the baby was born. "So your plan was for this man, your ex, to help raise our child?" I asked in disbelief. "Not actively raise them," she said. "Just be involved as a family friend. As the baby got older, if they wanted to know their biological father, Jason, would be there." I stood up, physically unable to remain in her presence any longer. All the love I had felt for her was drowning in a sea of betrayal and disrespect. "I never want to be second best, Amanda," I said, my voice breaking. "Not to my wife and not as a father. You made your choice without me. Now I need to make mine." I packed a bag while she begged and pleaded, claiming she had done it all for us, for our family. But there was no us anymore, no foundation of trust upon which to rebuild. I walked out that night, unable to look at the woman who had so thoroughly betrayed me. I stayed with my best friend Daniel and his wife Sarah for the next week while I figured out my next steps. They provided the emotional support I desperately needed, listening without judgment as I processed my grief and anger. On their advice, I consulted with a lawyer to understand my legal rights regarding the unborn child. I was shocked to learn that in our state as the husband, I would legally be considered the father of any child born during our marriage, regardless of biological connection. If I wanted to contest paternity, I would need to do so shortly after birth through official channels. This created a profound ethical and emotional dilemma. Despite the deception involved in conception, part of me had already connected with this unborn child. I had talked to Amanda Belly, painted a nursery, and imagined a future as a father. Could I simply walk away? Ultimately, after days of soul-searching and several sessions with a therapist, I made the painful decision that I could not remain in a marriage built on such a fundamental betrayal. I could not raise a child conceived in deception, constantly reminded of my wife's belief that I was genetically inferior, with her ex-boyfriend lurking in the background waiting to claim his biological rights. I instructed my lawyer to prepare divorce papers, including a voluntary relinquishment of parental rights. It was the hardest decision I ever made, but I knew I could not build a healthy family on such a damaged foundation. During this time, Amanda called and texted constantly, her messages evolving from defensive justifications to desperate apologies. She claimed she had made a terrible mistake, that she would cut all ties with Jason, that we could still be a family. But the trust was irreparably broken. The situation became even more surreal when Jason Warren himself appeared at my office one afternoon. Tall, polished, and visibly uncomfortable, he attempted to explain his side of the story. He claimed he had only agreed to help because Amanda had told him I was aware of and had consented to the arrangement. Whether this was true or another lie, it changed nothing about my decision. "Get out," I told him calmly. "Whatever arrangement you had with my wife, it did not include me, and I want no part of it." The confrontation, though brief, was oddly empowering. For the first time since discovering the truth, I felt in control of my own story. I was no longer a victim, but a man making difficult but necessary choices. With the help of my therapist, I began the process of healing. I acknowledged the grief of losing both my marriage and the future I had envisioned as a father. I allowed myself to feel the full range of emotions: anger, betrayal, sadness, and eventually acceptance. I rented a small apartment across town and threw myself into work. Colleagues noticed the change in me, the new intensity I brought to projects. When asked about Amanda and the baby, I simply said we had separated and left it at that. Few knew the full truth, and I preferred it that way. 6 months later, I sat across from Amanda in a mediation room, finalizing our divorce agreement. She was visibly pregnant, her due date just weeks away. Despite everything, seeing her like that still triggered complicated emotions in me. My lawyer presented our terms. I would not contest the divorce on grounds of adultery if Amanda would agree to my voluntary termination of parental rights. Additionally, I would provide a one-time financial settlement, but would not be responsible for ongoing child support. The reality of my decision finally seemed to hit Amanda. She had truly believed that somehow we would reconcile, that I would forgive her deception and raise this child as my own. "You are really walking away from us?" she asked, her hand protectively covering her belly. "There is no us, Amanda," I replied calmly. "You made sure of that when you decided I was not good enough to father my own child." "I was not saying your genes were bad," she insisted. "I just wanted the best possible outcome. And you decided that was not me," I said simply. "That is your right. But it is my right to choose not to be second best in my own family." As we signed the papers, I felt an unexpected sense of peace. The months of anger and pain had gradually transformed into something else, a determination to rebuild my life on my own terms. 2 weeks after our divorce was finalized, I accepted a job offer in Boston, across the country from Seattle, and the memories that haunted me there. The physical distance helped create emotional distance as well. In a new city where nobody knew my story, I could decide how much of my past to share and with whom. Daniel and Sarah kept me updated about events back home. Amanda had given birth to a healthy baby boy. Through mutual friends, I learned that she and Jason had started dating openly, presenting themselves as a couple reunited by fate and their child. The narrative they created conveniently erased the deception that had brought them together. Strangely, this news brought more relief than pain. It confirmed I had made the right decision, painful though it had been. They had gotten what they wanted, a child with supposedly superior genetic material, and I had freed myself from a relationship that had revealed itself to be conditional and deeply disrespectful. In Boston, I focused on rebuilding. I joined a support group for people going through divorce and major life transitions. The shared experiences and wisdom helped me process my own trauma and gain perspective. I made new friends, took up rock climbing as a way to challenge myself physically and gradually opened myself to the possibility of trusting again. At the support group, I met Lucy, a 32-year-old psychologist who specialized in helping people through major life transitions. Her compassion and insight impressed me from our first conversation. Unlike others who offered hollow reassurances, Lucy acknowledged the legitimacy of my pain while encouraging me to use it as a catalyst for growth rather than a reason to close myself off. We started as friends, meeting for coffee after group sessions to continue our conversations. She never pushed for more information than I was ready to share, and when I finally told her my complete story 6 months into our friendship, she listened without judgment. 1 year after leaving Seattle, I found myself sitting on the rooftop of my apartment building, with Lucy watching the Boston skyline at sunset. We had gradually transitioned from friendship to something more, though we were taking things slowly, both aware of the importance of building trust. "What do you think about having children someday?" she asked tentatively, knowing the complicated feelings the subject might evoke. I thought carefully before answering. The pain of my past experience had not eliminated my desire to be a father someday. If anything, it had clarified what kind of parent I wanted to be, one who valued honesty, respect, and unconditional acceptance. "I would love to be a father someday," I told her, "with someone who wants to build a family with me, not to spite me." A year and a half after discovering Amanda's betrayal, I can finally say I am grateful for the painful truth. Had I never discovered the emails, I would have raised a child under false pretenses in a marriage with someone who fundamentally did not respect me. The revelation, as painful as it was, freed me to seek authentic connection and rebuild my life on a foundation of honesty. Some broken things cannot be repaired, but nothing is beyond being rebuilt. I have learned that sometimes you need to lose one dream to find your way to a much better reality. The future remains unwritten, and for the first time in a long time, I look forward to seeing where my story goes next. I am curious to know what you think about my decision. Would you have stayed and raised the child anyway? Or would you have done the same thing I did? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please consider giving it a like and subscribing for more real-life experiences. Share this with someone who might need to hear that sometimes the hardest decisions are the most necessary ones for healing. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember that your worth is never determined by someone else's opinion of you.